am Jordan Banderas, also known as the Bad Influence. And before we begin, don't forget to hit that follow or subscribe button so you don't miss out on any episodes. Now, on today's episode, I want to provide a PSA. I want to talk about something that's been on my mind lately because of something that I had to deal with recently. And because of this experience, I actually started to realize that people around, I would say, 20 to like 60 years old are having to switch roles with the older generation. Now we have to teach the older generation about what's new, especially with technology. There's been a lot of scams going on around where older people, the older generation, fall into this type of scams, online scams, or some type of scam, and then all of their money is gone. Their retirement money is gone, and then they don't know what to do. That's why I want to talk about this because it's been happening a lot lately. And in some instances, even kids as young as 8 years old, 9 years old, or even 5 years old are teaching their parents how to actually use their phones and everything like that. That usually happens when you're Hispanic. I had to do that same thing with my mom, and believe me, it was fucking hard. But here's what happened in this situation. My father-in-law recently retired. He's looking to make some extra money because Social Security doesn't pay shit. I don't know if you know that, but Social Security barely pays anything, especially with inflation. Like everything is going up in price, utility bills, everything. So older people can actually keep up with their income. Like they have to be on a very strict budget. When I was working for a bank and even when I was working for a mortgage servicer, that's what all I heard every day is like, I'm on a fixed income. I'm on Social Security. I can't afford this. I can't afford that. I can't even afford food. So now older people are actually looking to make extra money. And because of that, they go online. They're like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna go online and see how I can make money. I heard about all of these side hustles and that the younger generation is making money very easily online, so I'm gonna try it. But because they don't know that there are scams and that people will take advantage of them, they actually end up losing a lot of money. So in my situation, my father-in-law somehow came across this software where, according to the information that he told me, with this software, if you buy the software and you deposit money, you will gain interest on a trading because of a trading account. So, according to him, you buy the software for a few $100s. You download it, you deposit your money, you don't even have to do anything, and you end up making money around like $3,000 a month, something like that. Now, $3,000, it's a lot for a retiree right now. So he was excited about it. He's like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna be able to pay my bills, all of this shit. So he talked to me about it. He's like, look, I found this software, this is what it does, and everything. When he was telling me about it, there were a lot of red flags. I was like, oh, that sounds like a scam, because if you don't even have to do any trades or anything like that, because supposedly this software helps with stocks and all of these things about trading, but you don't have to do anything, right? So that didn't make sense to me. And I was looking into the software, and every single Google review said it was a scam. I told him about the scam. I'm like, hey, if you already bought it, you're going to lose that money. So just let it go. I will recommend you to not do anything about it. Don't deposit your money. Don't do anything. And he's like, no, 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 I'm going to use it. I'm like, hey, you're an adult. You're 60 years old. You know what you're doing. Because he even said, oh, I know what I'm doing, whatever I read about it, all of these things. So I was like, okay, you know what you're doing. But then he's like, I'll buy the software for you. And I declined because I read everything about this particular company that indicated that it was a scam. So I was like, you know what? Thanks, but no thanks. I don't need that. Because it doesn't make sense to me that all you have to do is deposit your money and it will grow. It's not a savings account or anything like that. And if you don't even have to do any trades or anything like that, how are you supposed to make money? But he didn't listen. So he went ahead and bought the software. He bought the software and he tried to use it. He was having problems for weeks. Then a few weeks passed by. I would say like 2-3 months passed by. I totally forgot about the software. I didn't even know that he was still trying to use it. One day, he pulls me to the side and goes, hey, Jordan, I need your help with something. I'm like, sure, what is it? He brings up the fucking software again. But now he tells me that he bought a copy for his wife, my mother-in-law. So I was like, oh my gosh, you lost how many hundreds of dollars? Because the software cost a few hundred. So I was like, okay, why did you do that? He's like, oh, I'm going to make my money back, whatever. He was excited about it. But one of the things that he told me is to not tell my mother-in-law that she didn't need to know about the money that he was spending. So I got curious because I was like, okay, so he already lost a few $100s. I have to help him because I don't want him to lose his entire savings. Because he will be the type of person that will be like, you know what, I'm making money. Let's go all in. So I went to his house. I looked into this. And here's what happened. This is why the younger generation needs to teach the older generation about technology, because with this particular software, you were supposed to deposit money, but not just money. It was everything on cryptocurrency. The problem that he was having is that he wasn't able to deposit money because he didn't know about cryptocurrencies. So I get there, he gives me his phone where he's trying to download all the information or upload all the information, and I see at the top of the screen that says, choose your cryptocurrency to deposit. So that was another red flag. I was like, okay. He's telling me at this point that he's trying to deposit the cryptocurrency called USDC, which stands for US dollar coin. He thought it was the regular US dollar, the greenback, right? So when I looked into it, I was like, oh, this is a cryptocurrency. This is not the actual US dollar. This is a cryptocurrency. And I explained him, this particular currency is attached to the value of the dollar. So if $1 is still worth $1, the crypto, one coin, it will be worth $1. So I explained it to him and I gave him back his phone. I thought he understood at that point. I was like, okay, we're done. He starts playing with his phone. And he pulls up the same coin, USDC. But now he opened the page where you're supposed to select where you need to transfer the cryptocurrency from which wallet you want to select. And it says US dollar coin, like the whole name of the coin. He grabs his phone, puts it on my face, and goes, see, it says US dollars. He hands me his phone again. I looked at it, and I'm like, at this point, I started to get irritated because I was like, I just explained to you what this means. So we started going back and forth. He's not understanding me, probably because he doesn't understand anything about cryptocurrencies, and he's kind of stubborn, just like my wife. So he's stubborn. He's like fighting me because he thinks he's right. I'm trying to explain to him what this is. We're going back and forth. At this point, my wife says that she saw literally two rams bumping horns with each other, just going like pop, pop, literally. So she had to intervene and being like, and she was all like, Dad, we're gonna look into this, but for now, don't do anything. We're going home right now. So we went home, and on our way home, I explained to her, look, this is what he's trying to do. This is what the cryptocurrency is. I explained it to her so she could explain it to him in a better way, in a more calm way, because I wasn't calm. I was like, you know what you're doing. If you want to lose your money, fine. I didn't have any patience, pretty much. So my wife explains it to him and goes, now that you know what this is, do you want to buy that cryptocurrency? And I guess when he finally understood that he lost money, he was all like, no, I don't want to buy that crypto. I don't want to use this anymore. Like almost like a child that had been yelled at by a parent. He understood at that point that he lost his money. And when all of this was said and done, I realized that the older generation needs a ton of help, because after that happened, his wife, my mother-in-law, got scammed. And then another friend that we have got scammed. So I'm looking at this and I'm like, how the hell is everyone getting scammed? Like, don't you see the red flags? And then I realized, oh my gosh, they're too new to technology. Sometimes they just get too excited with making money and everything, especially when you're a retiree where you're making, let's say, like $1,500 a month on Social Security, if that. And then you get the opportunity to make like $3,000 to $5,000 not doing anything according to this software. So you go all in and then you lose your money. But what I realized with this experience is that the younger generation has to teach the older generation about technology. Like we have to literally almost like become a parent, or not like become a parent, but become a guide and show them how to use technology, how to use apps, how to do things that they want on their phones. That way they don't get scammed. The problem with that, like in this situation, is that the older generation thinks they know what they're doing. They act like literally kids and say, oh, I know what I'm doing. I'm an adult. You can't tell me what I can or can't do because I'm an adult. You should be asking me for help. I shouldn't be asking you for help. So when we try to help them and tell them, hey, don't do this, this is a scam, or let me look into this when I have time, because the younger generation has a lot of stress on right now. They have to pay for their bills, houses, everything, like there's so much shit going on in our lives for the younger generation that sometimes we don't have a lot of time to help the older generation. And so they get all desperate, they get impatient, and then they start doing things on their own when they should be waiting for us to help them. And when we tell them, hey, wait, let me look into this, they think that we're being rude. They think that we're telling them, you don't know what you're doing, wait for me so I can teach you. And a lot of people, they get mad because that hurts their ego. Especially when you're like 60, you've been to college, wherever you're going to, you have all this experience, but yet you don't know anything about technology. So it hurts your ego. And here's the thing though, this particular scams or any type of scam, I have also realized that anybody can fall for it. Anybody. My father-in-law has an MBA, a master's in business administration. He can build a fucking house from the ground up. He is the elder of the neighborhood. Everybody comes to him for advice. the whole church where he goes to ask him for advice. The bishop asked him for advice. So he's very smart. But yet he fell for this scam. And you can tell that it hurt his ego because he's mad about it. And there's nothing that he can do at this point because the company is not going to reimburse his money. He's not going to get a refund or anything like that. It says on the fine print, no refunds. Nothing. We already talked to the bank and the credit card and everything, the credit card company, and they're not able to do anything. So he lost a few $100s. But here's what happens. If us, as the younger generation, don't teach our grandparents, parents, or our loved ones that are older than us about technology, and we don't make that time, if it happens or when it happens, and they end up falling for a scam and they lose their income or their actual life savings, who do you think is going to take care of them? Not the government, not the bank, not anybody. We will have to clean up that mess. And it will be a mess. I'm still trying to help my mother-in-law when it came to her scam that she fell into because it's a mess. The companies that do that or the people that do that, they're very smart. They know how to avoid getting detected and they can close the business and start a new one. So they're very smart. So now we have to clean up those messes when that happens. So in my opinion, and I believe this very dearly right now, that we should make the time to teach the older generation about technology. We need to make like an hour. We need to make space for like an hour and teach them. And the other thing is that the older generation has to understand too that we're not trying to make them feel like they're kids anymore, because they're not. We're trying to help them because we care about them and we don't want them to fall into a scam that is going to leave them broke. There was a case recently, I believe it was last year here in Salt Lake, where the wife of a politician here in Utah fell for a scam and she lost $200,000. Imagine if that happens to your parents. Imagine if that happens to your grandparents. You're going to feel bad. So now we have to find a way for us to be able to understand each other, because the younger generation can learn a lot from the older generation. That's how it usually has been in the past. The older generation guides the younger generation. But for some reason, there's multiple reasons, right now we don't even see eye to eye. We criticize each other. We complain about each other. And it's been happening for a while. The older generation complains that the younger generation is destroying society. We're too free thinking and we just do whatever the fuck we want. So they're complaining. Like, according to the older generation, the younger generation doesn't know how to work hard. And according to the younger generation, the older generation are just too old and too antiquated. They haven't adapted to the changes in life that have happened in the last, I would say, 20 years, They don't know about technology. They don't know about TikTok. They don't know about all these things. So we see them as antiquated. But that shouldn't be the case. We should ask them for advice in how to deal with life. And the older generation should ask us for advice when it comes to, new day thinking, technology, everything new that's happening. Because, again, we don't want them to fall into a scam that's going to leave them broke. We don't want them to just think that they know everything when they don't. Because in the end, they're gonna ask us for help once they have made a mistake. It happens with my in-laws. It used to happen with my mom a lot when I was talking to her. Like, she will come to me every time that she messed up something, so I will have to clean up the mess. And it's a pain in the ass because now we have to take time off of our schedules, probably off of work, and help them. So we have to figure out again a way to work together, not yell at each other, just understand each other understand each other in a way that we can see each other as either a teacher or a learner or a student as well. You know, like when I talk to somebody that is older than me and they have more knowledge than me, I'm a student at that point. And if that person is asking me for help and they need me to teach them something, then I'm a teacher at that point. And he or she needs to become the student. That's something that we don't ever agree with. Like, the older generation always thinks that they're the ones that are the teachers, that they cannot become the student. That's why I'm saying, like, they're very stubborn, just like my father-in-law. And what happened? He lost a lot of money. My mother-in-law lost a lot of money too. And I don't want that to happen to you. That's why today's episode is a PSA, because it's just going to keep happening. It's just going to keep happening over and over and over again until the older generation understands that they're going to need our help. But we also need to understand that they are going to need our help. And we are the only ones who can help them, because if they go ask a stranger about this kind of things, they may actually get scammed too, because we don't know the intentions of that other person. Like, this company, this software company, had a chat. And when my father-in-law ask them for help, they will just tell them, oh, just do this and then deposit your money right away, or just do this and deposit your money right away. You have to do what we tell you to do, or you're gonna lose the opportunity to gain money, to earn money. You know, so it's extremely important to sit down and not judge each other, not yell at each other. We have to come to an understanding that we can learn from each other. And that's what is going to help us in the end, because we as the younger generation will learn something from them, and they are going to learn something from us. And that's what I wanted to share in today's episode. Thank you for listening. Thank you for the growth and the feedback. Remember to share, like, and subscribe. We are on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. The link is in the episode's description. And here are my final thoughts. We will get to a point in our lives where technology is going to leave us behind. But if we listen to each other, we can learn together about these new technologies. And have a great day.